Welcome back to another episode of From the Stands podcast. We hope everybody had a great New Year's. Hope you all stayed safe and enjoyed some great football this past weekend. We had a lot of good games. Some of the New Year's Six Bowls were a little lackluster. Some were, better than others. I do think really quickly, and I think we can just talk about this first. It's what's fresh on everybody's mind. I do think Georgia would have played Michigan better, and I know that sounds crazy because it was a one-score game.
In overtime.
But had Michigan not made the mistakes that they made in that game, they win that game by 2 scores.
I think that Georgia, I wrote this down. I think if we couldn't get any pressure on Milroe at all throughout that game. We got nothing. Michigan had 12 pressures and 6 sacks. They had a 50% sack rating on their pressures that they had.
I do think our offensive line is better.
Yeah, I agree. If Georgia played Alabama 10 times, I think we win 8 times. I think they got us on one of the 2, and that's fine. We lost. It happens in college football. Teams lose. But I think if we play every single team in the college football playoff, I truthfully, unbiasedly believe that we are better than every team in the college football playoff right now.
I think we still should have been 4. I still think you win 1 out of your last 30. You lose 1 out of your last 30 games. You're back-to-back Natty champs.
I think we would have beat. I actually like us against Michigan better than Washington.
Me too.
Because
Michigan's offense is not good.
No,
it's not good. Let's call it what it is.
It's
not as good. JJ McCarthy is not. JJ McCarthy. I'm going to steal some words from Cam Newton real quick. JJ McCarthy is a game manager. He is not a game changer. Michael Penix is a game changer.
Yeah.
Michael Penix came out and dropped his Penix on the table this weekend, as Joe so eloquently said earlier.
It was a big Penix.
I think that game against. I think we would have seen a little bit more of a high-scoring game, Georgia, Michigan, because our defense was not what it has been in years prior. Michigan can run the football. They can run the football. That's one thing they could have done.
I just found it so odd that a Nick Saban-led team didn't capitalize on the mistakes that Michigan made, because I feel like
they capitalized on one of them. They got that touchdown after the first muff punt.
I mean, capitalize as in almost win. Like, you don't
just
see
like
Saban,
take care of business.
Yeah, you don't see Saban's teams have that many mistakes from the other side of the ball and they lose the game.
I think you can look at Nick Saban and really go, like, that is the best coach in college football, because this was one of his worst teams ever.
Worst teams ever, but highest talent rate. It was like the second highest talent rate he's ever had. He just didn't have the stud at quarterback, and he didn't have the stud.
Their offensive line also, while average size, bigger than every single NFL offensive line, they're slow. Yeah. They're really slow. They were unable.
What did I say last week? If there was going to be a part of the game that was suspect, it was Alabama's O-line.
You said you were more excited to watch Michigan's D-line against Alabama's O-line.
Because Alabama's O-line has been the most suspect part of their team all season, and it did not fail me.
Well, what Michigan was able to do was they were able to get pressure from the interior, which is something that Georgia couldn't do. We weren't able to get any pressure in to force him to move.
Milroe could not move north
up
and
in the
south.
Pocket. He
had to go
step
east.
up.
He had to go east and west.
So he's great. When throwing the football, he's great from in the pocket, throwing between the numbers. He can do that. He is a quarterback, a starting SEC quarterback. But when you get him on the run, it forces him to make decisions that he's not comfortable with, and they were able to force pressure inside and have him get outside the tackle box, and that's when you make Jalen Milroe play with his arm, and that's when you beat him, which is why he only had 116 passing yards. And
I don't think the score accurately represented the game. So Michigan's game plan in the first half was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Somehow, even with the mistakes they made, with, J.J. McCarthy first play of the game, throwing, what could have been a pick if if your heel just isn't on the line right there. Muff punt, like all that stuff, right? And Alabama's still only down 3 at the half. You go, I feel like this is right where Alabama wants them. They come out in the second half, and Nick Saban does what Nick Saban does.
Mm-hmm.
He makes second half adjustments.
Their
Jim
adjustments
Harbaugh
were phenomenal.
Got out-coached for 26 minutes in the second half. It was those final 4 where the more talented team was actually able to persevere and come out with a win.
I just want to know
But-
what that play call was, because he took like 2
Well-
or 3 timeouts at the end of that game, and then the best
It
he
was-
came up with was a fucking.
It was also another.
Bad snap.
It was a horrible snap. The snap threw everything off because if you watch the play from they showed it from a bird's eye view, he had the lane to the left. The play was designed for him to take the snap and run left, and he had it. The lane was there, but the low snap just
the snap
freaked
took
him out.
took him this way, and then he had to
and
recover.
then he just kind of like went up. It was a
Just
it was a
broken play.
visceral reaction to just run up the
panicked.
middle.
He
Yeah, he
panicked.
panicked.
I think the play calling before that in overtime was the real problem. I don't even have as much of a problem with that one as I do with the play calling before that, because I wrote down every sequence of play that they had.
You talking
in
about
overtime.
the third down play that he threw to Burton?
All of them. So he had first play of overtime. He had a 1-yard dump route to the out of
to the
bounds.
outside.
just outside
straight,
1 yard.
straight to the
It was,
sideline.
it was a foot from out of bounds. So
It
there
was-
was not. It was
yeah.
a dead play pretty much. Then they had a read option, which Milroe kept, which was a broken play. Like it was broken, but it went for 15 because he was able to improvise. So we're like, okay, Alabama has some momentum. They ran a halfback draw, no gain. Michigan's defensive line has been swallowing from the inside the entire game.
And you're gonna run
You
up
run a
the gut.
halfback draw.
The only
delayed
the
halfback
only
draw.
place they had success running the football was outside the tackles.
Run a delayed halfback draw. Then you run a read option in which Milroe made a terrible read, and he had the outside if he would have kept it, but he gave it to the running back, lost 5 yards. Same thing, pressure right up the middle. Then Milroe made a late throw, 10-yard curl route. Like the curl route was there, he just threw it late, hit it, 4th and goal, 4-yard line, low snap. Everybody knows, dove into the middle of the offensive line. So I have more of a problem with. I don't understand why you kept running plays that would
Not work.
easily be stopped by interior pressure
Which is what you were getting beat by the entire
the
game.
entire game.
And so that's what I'm saying about this. I think Georgia would have played Michigan better in the sense of I don't think Michigan would have been – they looked real nervous at first against Alabama. I think that comes from just pedigree and you're playing
Alabama.
Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have came into that game. I think they would have been more fired up to be like, damn, Georgia literally beat the absolute dog shit out of us 2 years ago. They embarrassed us, so much so that people were like, we shouldn't be here. I think they would have came more into that game with like that fire and tenacity than being so kind of like scared and laid back. I think the game plan would have been different. They would have been taking more shots early. I think it could have had the potential to be more of a high-scoring game. I don't think they make as many mistakes in that game. I also think Georgia plays a really clean game. We've got a great run game. We've got a much better offensive line than Alabama does. I think that would have been a better game. But other than that, my point to that was the CFP committee got it right this year. The Rose Bowl was decided by, other than, I still think Georgia should have been 4 over Alabama.
Yeah.
You can say what you will about that.
Not over Alabama, but yes, I agree.
You can't put them in over Texas, and Texas
It just
proves
depends.
that too. But
It just depends on
nobody was going to be happy one way or the other,
Yeah, somebody
right?
loses.
So I will say they got it right this year in the sense of we had the Rose Bowl go to OT, 27-20, and
And the
then
Sugar
you had
Bowl.
the Sugar Bowl come down to the literal final play.
Both of them did. Both of them came down to the last play of the game, which
The
is all
final
you can
play.
ask for.
So that's all you can ask for. So
Absolute cinema.
I think they got that right. I do.
Yeah, because
think
can
they
you
got-
imagine if Florida State was playing Michigan?
Yeah, they would have got. I mean, now
Mm.
they wouldn't have had as many opt-outs, but
You know who was in the stadium for that Rose Bowl? Connor Stallions. He was in the stands. So, if you want to blame anybody, don't blame Saban. It was on
Who's that?
the
the
sign-stealing guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
The mastermind.
He was in the
behind
stadium.
The whole
so
operation.
he steals signs from the stands. Is what you're saying?
We should get him on the
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah, we should get him on the pod. But I was happy with the way the first round of the CFP ended up.
Yeah. I
And
was
what-
just kind of taken aback by Michigan's defensive game plan. I was very impressed by the pressure that they were able to put
I
on
was
because Georgia
also-
couldn't do it. And that's why I was like, nobody's going to put pressure on Bama. But 12 pressures, 6
A lot of
sacks.
stunts,
Twist move, a lot of twist.
a
They
lot
ran
of
a lot
twists.
of twist.
The problem is Alabama's got a huge offensive line, but they're so slow, dude.
You see immediately after the game, their center entered the portal.
Really?
Alabama's?
Like within 24 hours, he was in the portal.
He
So-
downloaded Duolingo right after the game.
Go learn Chinese, buddy.
He's gonna need it.
They're still going to be good next year. So it's a Saban team. They'll reload.
We'll see. I
Why'd
don't
they
trust-
keep blaming fucking? Okay, so did you pay attention when the commentators kept talking about the snaps and they kept saying, "Well, that's not
It's
not
not
really
all on
on
the center." Yeah,
Jalen Milroe needs to be. He's athletic enough. He needs to be able to catch that wherever. I'm like, motherfucker, that was on his shoelaces.
Yeah,
Like, not
you're-
everybody's gonna squat like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
and get down there.
he is down.
Yeah, no, that was, I don't know. That was interesting to me, to say the least. Let's hop over to the Sugar Bowl real quick, which was, I think, everything we hoped for and more, honestly.
Yeah, my picks hit
Yeah,
That
from
O-
last
I-
week.
I told-
Quinn Ewers.
I told you that Odunze pick was a lock.
Yeah.
I'm
So
I'm 2
was-
for 2 so
How'd
far.
yours do?
The Lamar pick.
Oh, I thought you picked. Did anyone else pick college football, or was it just me and him?
You
No,
picked
it's just me and
Odunze.
you.
Okay, well,
I-
we both
We
hit.
both hit. Hey, I'm
Well-
2 for 2 so far on Dogs of the Week, just for you
think-
guys out there watching.
I think I get a pardon. McCaffrey got hurt in the second quarter. So
Nah.
What was your?
it was McCaffrey higher than 98 yards, and he
Okay.
had 60 in the second quarter, and then got hurt.
I'll
Did
give
they
you.
The
I'll,
do
team
it?
rushed for 160
I'll
total.
I'll give you a pass on that.
Yeah,
We were playing McCaffrey in the Pod Fantasy League though, which
So-
I didn't realize. So that was huge for us because
massive.
we won our championship by 4 points. So
massive.
if CMC plays that entire game, we're
Probably.
fucked.
Yeah, definitely.
We had the script.
Lamar threw 5 TDs and had
No,
nothing on the ground.
no rushing TDs. And Lance had higher than half a rush plus
It was
receiving.
the freest bet of all time if you look at the box score.
Let's go back to
freest
Freest pick'em entry of the week.
Freest daily fantasy pick'em entry.
let's go back to this game real quick though.
Michael Penix should have won the Heisman.
He should have.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Michael Penix should have won the Heisman.
How can you sit here and after watching him all season, and time and time and time and time again, he shows up in the big moments and wins his team's football games, and say that he's not the best player in college football?
He didn't do it every game in the regular season.
Yes, he did. They went undefeated.
They went undefeated, dog. They didn't lose a single game.
Jaden Daniels can't play defense.
Neither can Michael Penix, and they won every game.
Washington has a better defense than LSU does.
Not by much. You know what Washington's defense ranks nationally? 92nd in total defense. They would be the worst defense to win the national championship since Auburn in 2010, who was ranked. Well, I wrote it down.
Who was literally willed to a win by
Who was ranked 60th, and the next worst defense was LSU, who was 31st in 2019 since the start of the BCS in 1998.
He had a couple games that he played poorly in. Jaden didn't play bad in a single, other than the second half of the first or second half of the Florida State game. Jaden didn't really play bad in any game.
Michael Penix only played bad in like 2 games, and they won, but they won the games. They still won, and he was still
The 3 games
Striving.
the 3 games we lost, Jaden played amazing in every single game. We lost because we gave up 42 plus in every single game.
stats are not everything though. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's why
If-
Lamar's winning MVP. If stats matter that much, he wouldn't be
he
even
would
in
not-
the
he
running.
wouldn't even be in the
Give it
top
to
3.
Purdy.
Motherfucker's not barely top 5 in any stat.
Jaden was the best player.
He was the best on paper.
Yeah, I agree with that. He was the best on paper player in college football.
He was not the best player.
I don't
the
think
best,
if
the
you
best,
put- I
the,
think if
be-
you-
the best player plays for the Washington Huskies.
Do you think if Jaden Daniels played for Washington that they'd have the same success?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I
How
don't
can
know.
you say no? What makes Penix that much better than Jaden Daniels?
He won every single game this season.
His team.
His
won
team
every
won every game, so that makes him better.
He just dropped 420 yards in the Sugar Bowl against
And
a
I'm
team that most people said we're gonna beat them by 2 scores. I don't.
and I'm 100% convinced that Jaden could do the same thing against Texas.
but more, 500 yards.
I'm not. I wasn't arguing. I was just curious as to what you thought. Anyway,
I just the stats on paper are not.
I'm not saying it
always-
was. I'm not saying it was far and away like Jaden should have been a unanimous Heisman. I just think he had a better season than Michael Penix did.
Penix was playing a lot of Pac-12 defenses too. Jane
I-
Daniels had them
J-
tough.
Jaden Daniels was
SC.
playing a
Jane Daniels did
Ugh.
not play great in every game. He did not play good against Alabama. Besides like
He also didn't play like
rushing.
He also-
rushing, he was good. But
Him and Jalen Milrow had the same running back game in that game.
he had 200. They played almost identical, Jalen Milrow and Jaden Daniels, except Jalen Milrow had 4 rushing touchdowns and Jalen had 1. Jalen had 219 yards and 2 touchdowns and a pick.
he also got hurt in that game.
At the end of the game,
Yeah, he didn't
it
play.
was like the last drive.
no,
I think the
no, he got
second to
hurt.
last drive.
It was,
He got-
probably 2 or 3 drives left in the game because Nussmeier had 10 attempts.
Yeah, he got hurt
After the
early,
game,
early fourth quarter.
when the game was already out of reach.
Anyway, not important.
But
Um,
anywho,
Michael Penix,
Had an incredible game.
a phenomenal game, 420
430
yards.
430 and 2 touchdowns. With 32 yards on the ground. If not for his injury history, I think he'd be a top
5 pick, probably 3.
10. I'll say 10 because he's old.
What are we saying? Old though? What is he? 24, 25?
Yeah, he's like old, like Stetson, almost Stetson old.
25 though is like when you think quarterback age, it is not uncommon to see quarterbacks play until
he's
their age.
23. That's not that old.
It's not uncommon to see guys play till they're 40 now at the quarterback position.
He's the same age as Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix.
I guess quarterbacks are staying so much later now. It's kind of crazy.
Well, because you get guys like Penix, who was not a huge recruit out of high school, right? You go to Indiana, you
Terry
get all
ACL
the,
twice.
you get all these injuries. Every single season he played at Indiana, season-ending injury
Yep.
at some point during the season. Then you transfer somewhere that has the tools that you need to be successful. No quarterback is going to succeed at Indiana. Let's call it what it is. That's not a football school.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It'll never be a football school.
Damn. They're all only a year younger than Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence.
See, they stay so much later now. Maybe it's just this class that's staying
of
so much
COVID.
later.
COVID, and then, with the transfer portal again, you get 5 years of eligibility. If you're not a high draft pick, why not come back, play your 5th year, only be 23 years old with a degree,
Yeah.
and be able to put some good film on tape?
And make some money.
Next
NIL.
year we're gonna have a 7th year matchup between 2 QBs.
Oh yeah,
Which two?
So
Oklahoma State's quarterback got
Alan Bowman,
granted his 7th year of eligibility.
and they play Utah next year.
Cam
Oh,
Rising.
He'll probably be hurt for the game.
The Indeed.com Bowl. Go get a job. Because neither one of those dudes are playing in the NFL.
No, they're not. Okay, let's touch on this game real quick so we can get into some
Dylan
of our
Johnson going
segments.
down is huge.
How bad was it? Because I honestly haven't.
So he's been dealing with a foot injury all season. So it's not like
He
nothing- yeah,
re-aggravated an
it's-
injury.
we don't know how bad it is. Nothing's come out on it if he's going to play or not.
If he doesn't play in that game,
It's not going to be pretty.
You
very-
really think it's going to be
Yeah, he's
that
really
big of a
important.
difference?
Yeah, 100%.
because Penix is not mobile.
He's mobile enough. He's mobile
I
enough.
watched somebody did a rendering of what it looks like Michael Penix throwing the ball right-handed. It's literally it's a thing of beauty.
It's pretty lefty. I like watching it lefty.
But you're so used to watching quarterbacks do it right-handed. It's hard to assess the throwing motion from that side. He gets the ball out so quick, it is insane. His throwing motion is short, compact, and he can launch a football.
Yeah. Do you know how many times Michael Penix was hit in the Sugar Bowl? Hit.
7.
Not sacked. Hit. 7?
12.
12?
I think this is a trick question, so I'm going to go like 2.
0.
Zero?
He was
see,
not
I
hit.
was-
He was not hit one time.
Their offensive line is fantastic.
They won the Joe Moore Award.
Did they really?
Yeah, but I think it was more due to Penix's ability to dodge pressure. More
Like
than
he
is-
helped make them look good. I mean, I'm not saying that they were
I-
bad.
No. I agree. He definitely helped the offensive line look better than what they actually were because of his ability to read
Pressure.
like blitz schemes and roll
His
out
IQ
and step
is
up.
fantastic.
Yeah,
He is mobile in the sense of he doesn't need to break one off for 20 yards. He can step up, move out, move back in, and then launch one downfield without ever really having the need to have to take off for 10 yards.
Yeah, I think one of the big reasons why Texas lost this game was so all season long they've had bottom 40 red zone efficiency. Their red zone efficiency is terrible, and once again it continued.
I think it also lack of experience. People forget Quinn Ewers is a redshirt sophomore.
No, he's a junior. At least, well, he's
Yeah,
draft
'cause
eligible, so he's
he
at
was-
least a junior or redshirt sophomore.
He's 20.
He's still young, but he's a redshirt junior or redshirt sophomore or a true junior, one of the two.
He's a redshirt sophomore, according to Google.
So
And I mean,
So
he's
that's literally
been
what I said.
he's been in big moments before. He did not play well from what I saw.
well, the problem is that Texas had a ton of success running the ball early. They were running the ball well,
Yeah,
and Sark just got away from it.
He was just
He
like, let's
stopped
just start
calling the
throwing
run.
the ball.
Yeah, he stopped calling the run, and he has a tendency to do that when they're doing something effectively.
Well, he told me something that he heard. Sark
Yeah, so this was on the broadcast. This is what the guys were saying,
scripts the first 40 plays of the game.
which is very uncommon because
Usually, you make adjustments after the first two drives.
you script your first 10 to 15 plays is what most coaches do. I mean, I wouldn't say 24 of 43, 318 yards, 1 TD, no picks is a bad game from Quinn Ewers.
Well, it doesn't help that Xavier Worthy was not being utilized well.
Or
he was
not
banged up.
healthy.
He was banged up a little bit, but they also just didn't use him at all.
Well, I mean, CJ Baxter finished the game with 9 carries. 9 carries for 64 yards. Jaden Blue was rushing the ball well, 9 carries for 59 yards.
I mean,
and a
that's
TD.
what, like 5-6 a carry for each guy.
6.6 for Blue and 7.1 for CJ Baxter.
Got away from the run.
Quinn had 8 carries for 54 yards, an average of almost 7 yards a carry.
That
So
includes sacks too.
Quinn did not have a bad game. He just got outplayed
Yeah,
by a
great
a
quarterback.
Heisman finalist. Let's just go. I mean, Michael Penix was 29 of 38 for 430 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. Neither team had a
Interception.
I guess, was there a muff punt in this game?
Washington muffed a punt. It put Texas back in the game.
That
No, it was
right.
early.
Yeah,
It was
that was
early.
early. That was well.
was
It did
early.
kind of put Texas back in the game because it was 14-7.
That game was
And-
just 7-0,
What's up-
7-7, 14-7.
What's up
14-4.
with the muff punts?
bright lights?
What was it Alabama? Was it the Alabama game where they put what game was it where they put the guy with like one arm?
Oh,
it
I
was
saw
the,
that.
it was
Like
the
an
shirt.
arm.
Dude
It was-
had an entire cast on
Yeah,
his
what
It
was
was
hand.
that
like a
about?
JPP club on his arm, and they
Yeah, and then he fumbled it, and he
Shocker.
fumbled it.
Yeah,
I don't
shocker.
think the other team got it, but
No, but it put him in
Do you
terrible
think
field
that-
position.
do you think the muff punt in the Bama game, the one at the end, should have been a safety?
no,
Not based on the ruling, but I do hate that rule.
He didn't get tackled in the end zone, so no. It was, I mean, it was close, and it would have been
Yeah, I
really cool
didn't-
to see that
When
it
we
was.
were talking about it, my argument was not that it should have been called one. I just said I don't like that rule because, bro, muffed the punt, turns around to pick it up, and then he gets forward progress just for rotating his body.
Well, his knee
around.
was down before the end zone, before the ball crossed the plane.
Was it?
99% sure his knee was down. Because if it wasn't, then they would have called it for a safety.
No, because he gets forward progress just for turning around. That was my. Again, I don't. You know,
I mean,
it's
forward progress is forward progress. That's how it is on all power turns.
It's what we like to call a football move.
I just don't. I was just when we were talking about it, I just said
Yeah.
I don't like that rule because basically, dude muffs the punt. All of his momentum is this way towards the end zone when he has to pick up the ball. They claim forward progress just for him picking up the ball and turning. Like he didn't make any motion forward. He's not moving forward. He turns, and as soon as he is facing
He got popped.
upfield, he gets popped and gets taken into the end zone.
You could argue that him turning around is him trying to get upfield. He just got met immediately.
I guess, but then you're kind of penalizing the defense.
If
on that
if
one.
you're a Michigan fan and you're watching that game and that happens and it does get called for a safety, I mean, the backlash on that's probably pretty ridiculous.
Again, I'm not nowhere here am I arguing. I think Michigan was the better team.
I'm just
in
saying,
that
even if
game.
that's not the rule, I think that's
I just don't like that rule because you
Yeah.
got forward progress for turning around. You dropped the punt, which gave the defense time to get down there to you, They're sprinting. You turn around, you get popped, and you're only driven. Like, it's not like he was driven from the 10-yard line all the way into the end zone. Like, I mean, he was not even fully at the 1, I don't believe, and he gets popped into the end zone. I just think it's an interesting rule.
Well, at least it wasn't the NFL, because if it was an NFL game, they would have flagged the defender for unnecessary roughness and given him unlike the fucking 16-yard line.
Probably.
Just interesting.
I mean, do we want to preview the national championship a little bit? Just
We'll get into it.
And
We'll get into it here in a little bit. We'll talk more about it, and then obviously we'll all have our spiel for Pick'em and
So tune in to
where we're
Pick'em
going.
if you want to hear that.
So definitely tune in to Pick'em. All right. So we talked about college football, the playoff. Again, I think we could all agree that the CFP committee, with all
Given
the
the
options, given the
circumstances, yeah.
circumstances and the options they had in front of them, and knowing that they were going to deal with backlash somewhere, they gave us 2 good games.
yeah, and fuck all the FSU fucking players that set out and then want to tweet out about Alabama losing.
That
Like they would have done something.
That's-
It would have been like a 30-point loss, bro, at least.
that was one of my. This is what I love about Kirby, bro. The culture that he has built at Georgia is unparalleled anywhere in the country. You only had 2 guys that I'm aware of that opted out.
Bowers and Mims.
Bowers and Mims. Bowers is a top 15 pick, so that makes sense to me. And Mims has been battling injuries for
He's
a couple
also a
weeks now,
top
and
20
he's
pick.
also a top 20 pick.
Yeah.
Other than that, you had Kamari Lassiter has first round potential. Bullard has first round potential. They played up until there were Ladd had first round potential, or early second round potential. They all played.
Are most of those guys coming back, or are
No,
they all?
every
No.
single person that we've already lost like 10 to the draft. So just
Oh, really?
Lassiter,
Bullard went to the-
Bullard, McConkey, Mims,
Obviously, Brock.
Bowers,
Van Pran.
Cedric Van Pran, Rosemy Jack Saint.
And they all played except for Mims and Bowers.
Rosemary Jackson's going to the draft. Interesting.
He's a
He'll-
senior.
He'll be a
I got
late,
you.
like a fifth.
It's
It's just an
sixth round
excuse to
pick.
throw a party.
Kendall Milton.
Also a senior.
Yeah.
But I
Dejan,
mean,
I think, is probably gone.
looking like seeing what Zeus is doing at the end of the year for the Raiders.
Kendall's draft stock went up. He had 13 touchdowns in the last 5 games.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was crazy.
He'll
Really?
get drafted. It's rare that a Georgia running back does not get drafted.
Elijah Holyfield.
He wasn't.
He's still, I follow him on Instagram. He still does workouts, every day. He's still training to be in he was on the Bengals roster last year.
Well, I mean, when your dad's a Vander, yeah, it's kind of hard not to train. I feel
He's
like
huge.
his dude, it's insane.
Anyway.
But yeah, 2 things that stuck out to me about that, and then we'll move on. But the culture that Kirby has built at that school, players play for the name, the logo on the front of their jersey, which is very rare to see in college football these days. To have that many seniors, all with draft potential, some with first round potential, play in a game where they knew the other side of the ball was not coming at full strength, to go, we're going to show everybody who the fuck we are. We're going to go out on this field and we are going to punch them in the fucking mouth, is something that as a Georgia fan, I was proud to see. On the other side of the ball, crybabies. Crybabies. You've got a bunch of whiners. Listen, when you played sports growing up, when your team lost in the semifinal, or for like us playing baseball, right? You go out, you get 6 pool play games, right? And you don't advance, you don't get to go to the elimination round. Did you ever sit out when it came to a
All the time.
yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, when it came to a consolation game. You played that game just as hard as any because you want to prove fuck everybody else. You should want to prove to yourself that you are who you say you are.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing in golf, because obviously coming from a golf background, playing competitively, your team's out of it sometimes. You're going to lose.
Yeah,
your
okay,
team has no chance of winning.
I played tennis in
Yeah.
high school, right? There were multiple times you have 1 singles, 2 singles, 3 singles, and then you've got 2 doubles teams, right? So that's 5. you have to win 3 out of 5 of those matches. There were plenty of times where we went and played schools who had country club kids out the ass, people who were already playing like pro-am tennis, right? And we know there's no chance our school takes that win. Me and my
Still,
buddy who
yeah.
played doubles, we went out. We wanted to beat you because we wanted to prove that we were better than you were. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. And that is what I really didn't like about Florida State, is to complain and to whine and to cry and then be like, oh, but fucking Bama got beat. Like, how are we not there? If you showed up like you did against Georgia, you would have got your ass smacked. You would have gotten beat by 40 in a CFP playoff game, dude.
And that's why y'all are crying on the sideline. And we're eating chicken wings on Instagram Live on the sidelines. That's the difference.
It was kind of pathetic. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it was very. If that was your game, that was your Super Bowl. Yes, you got kept out. Okay, you're playing the number 6 team in the country, back-to-back Natty champs, a team that there was still a lot of people thought could have been in the top 4, even with that loss. That is your chance to come out and show that you didn't need Jordan Travis to be a solid team, and instead you go, nah, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to let these second stringers go out and get absolutely dicked on.
Yeah. Well, I'll be talking about that in a little bit as well. So
All right,
that's a little preview for our
let's hop in a little bit of an unorthodox start to
Long
the pod
intro
today.
for this one.
Yeah, long intro. So
welcome to From the Stands.
if you stayed with us to this point, we appreciate you. All right, we're going to hop into mega moments. I'm going to start. I'll make mine a little bit, kind of run through these if you don't have too much to say about yours. I'll make mine quick. Lamar Jackson absolutely dismantled the Dolphins' defense. No Bradley Chubb, I get it. Dolphins' defense isn't premier, but that's an AFC contender in everybody's eyes, right? Still the leader in the AFC East right now.
For now.
He
No,
threw-
they're going to stay the leader. They're going to stay the leader for sure.
He threw 321 yards and 5. You heard that right. 5 passing TDs, which is rare to
MVP.
come out of Lamar.
He had
MVP?
more passing touchdowns in that game than incompletions.
Dropped 56 on a team that had just beat the Cowboys at home. With the win, they clinch not only the AFC North, but the AFC's number 1 seed. And this is the first time since 2019 that the Ravens have won the North. The same season Lamar won his first MVP.
Coming back.
Looking like he might
Bring
have
it back to the B more.
looking like he might have locked it up.
And you don't got to play the Titans this year, so he might actually win a playoff game.
Thank God. All right.
Looks like he might have
Is
locked
he
it
still
up for
looking
the
for his
second
first
time.
win?
He's 1-2, but
Who they beat? They beat the Chargers.
I don't
2
remember.
years
I don't
ago?
remember.
They beat the
Yeah,
Chargers.
but a fantastic game from Lamar. Just an all-around amazing performance. Forgot, I kind of skimmed over this in my notes. Also finished with a perfect passer rating. Like, dude went out there,
That's why he's the
and
GOAT.
absolutely balled on an AFC contender. So Lamar Jackson, and what looked like his defining moment for his second MVP with a 5 TD performance against a good Dolphins team, is going to be my mega moment of the week.
I'm I'm going back to college. We talked about it a little bit. My mega moment is the second best quarterback in the country, Michael Penix, bringing that big Penix energy. And I did pick Washington to win. I knew they were battle tested. I knew that it was going to take the tougher team to get it done, and he showed why I'm always right. 2 TDs over 400 yards. He made it look easy.
You're right. My mega moment. They've done it.
Everybody a little
They've
clap.
done it at last. They finally got over the hump.
I was
No.
like synced up.
Not talking about the,
that was good.
not talking about the Michigan Wolverines. We're talking about the Detroit Pistons here. The Detroit Pistons defeated the Toronto Raptors on December 30th
To snap their NBA record losing streak.
after the Raptors, hours after the Raptors traded away OG Anunoby, Precious Chua, and Malachi Flynn. So they were down their best defender and an integral part of their team.
A win's a win.
Does that discredit the win?
Yes.
Yes. But a win is a win.
A win is a win.
A win is a win.
It goes to the
They won
they
by
get
2
one of
points.
these.
They won by 2 points. Does that also
No.
No.
At this point for the Pistons, one of these is one of these. It don't matter.
W's for Wingstop too.
Yeah, huge.
Huge
So-
dubs in the chat.
That was
for
actually some
Wingstop.
good marketing for Wingstop.
Dude, that was fantastic because
They
how many
probably got flooded after
Dude,
that game.
The employees there, they might have literally all quit that
I
same
would've
night
quit.
though. So
K dropped 30 and 12 at home.
he's balling.
They
man.
then did follow up this massive win with a loss by 30 to the Rockets, I think, and then
They
let
scored.
up-
They scored 148 points
last night or 2 nights ago and lost.
and
Gave
lost.
up
lost.
154 to the Jazz in overtime. I can finally have a new mid moment every week, which I'm very
We'll get
thankful
there,
for.
yeah.
Until the Pistons hit their next
I was.
27 loss.
It's been a wonderful
27
ride.
streak.
That being said, Detroit, if you go on another double digit skid, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
All right, well, you already know. You see the jersey. Week 2, 2 weeks in a row, back-to-back W's for Pittsburgh Steelers and our new elite franchise quarterback, Mr. Mason
New.
Rudolph.
He's been on the roster for like 5 years.
Yeah, but emerging.
He's finally recovered from
Yeah.
the Miles Garrett.
Miles
Garrett.
Garrett spike.
I mean, the guy spent like, I can't remember what year he's drafted. Him and fucking
Like 2019.
James Washington were supposed to be the next duo after
Oh,
them.
James Washington.
James Washington.
But he went from like the most hated guy in Pittsburgh. Like everybody wanted him cut. They were like,
I didn't.
we
get,
want Kenny and Trubisky. Why are we carrying this third scum on our roster? We don't need a third quarterback. Mason's trash.
the most trash quarterback on your roster now is Kenny Pickett.
No, it's still Mitch. It's definitely Mitch, bro. Did you watch Mitch play?
No,
Mitch is ass.
I'm not
bro.
watching this. I don't want.
Oh my
I don't want to
God.
watch a Steelers game. There's not much.
Hey, we win more than the Falcons do. Anyways, Mason Rudolph, 18 of 24, 270 faux yards.
We
Did
do
he have-
still. We do still both have the same chance to make the playoffs. I'm just gonna.
Just because you're in a shit division. We got the Ravens and the Browns in our division, man.
And the Bengals.
And the Bengals.
The Bengals are 500 with Jake
both,
Browning.
we both have the
Right.
same chance to make the playoffs, and both teams would do the same thing in the playoffs.
No, we would win.
Get smacked.
We would win. But Mike Tomlin doesn't have a playoff win in. I don't want to get into that.
I would.
Najee Harris had 122 rushes, 2 rushing touchdowns. That's like a record for him. George Pickens back-to-back 100-yard games,
There you go.
over 450 yards of total offense. No more Matt Canada. We're getting back on track. We're going to win this weekend. Buffalo's going to lose. More on that later.
Tune into
And
Pick'em.
we're going to make the division round this year.
Is that good though? Because
Who are y'all beating?
that
Everybody.
Pittsburgh versus the world.
Yeah.
that guarantees Mike Tomlin another season.
He's already getting. They're not
No,
gonna
if they
fire
win a
him.
playoff game, if they win a playoff game,
They're not going to fire him even if we miss the playoffs, dude.
that's crazy.
You don't think there's even a
No.
chance?
Who are you going to hire?
Bill Belichick.
Fuck no.
You'd rather have Tomlin than Belichick?
Belichick is a more intense defensive coach than Mike Tomlin is, and that's not what you need to win right now. Pittsburgh's a defensive atmosphere.
It might be in your case.
No, it's not. Pittsburgh's entire
You've
I
won
didn't-
most of your games this year because of defense.
that's
though.
but that's not what that's obvious. That's exactly why we don't need it because our entire city is built around defense, steel curtain, and we have no care towards our offense, which is like 30th ranked in the league.
You need,
We need
an
an
offensive, mind.
coach.
I
Like
think
Cliff Kingsbury.
There you go.
I think Bill would do a better job at finding a good OC that could bring your offense up. The problem that you talk about all the time is that Mike Tomlin wants full autonomous control of the system, of the whole system, which is why your offense struggles so much.
That's why the Patriots offense, because Bill Belichick had to be coach,
GM.
GM.
It
and
worked.
basically
Belichick-
call
Beli-
plays.
Belichick seems just as stubborn as Tomlin, if
And
not
more,
worse.
yeah, more stubborn.
He has 6 rings, though. Is all I'm gonna say.
Brady has 6 rings. He rode along with them.
I can't. You can't just say that
Because you
that
got
is
the greatest,
just
you
Brady.
have the greatest offensive mind in football history in Tom Brady, and all he had to do was focus on making the best defense possible. That's why Brady had a top 10 defense every year.
I don't know. There's not a lot of good coaches out there, in my opinion, right now. Anyways, we're seeing it across the league.
I wish we would hire fucking Bieniemy as our OC, but Tomlin won't hire black coordinators. Maybe a little racism there.
Reverse racism.
He doesn't. All he hires is white dudes, and they're all ass.
Matt Howe.
He
or
had
Matt
fucking
Canada.
Brian
Don't
Flores.
get me started on
Is it
Matt
Flores or
House.
Flores on our like assistant DC. Our DC left Keith Butler, and he wouldn't hire him.
Yeah, and
He
Brian,
sent-
I love
Brian
Brian
Flores
Flores.
is down in, or he's
Miami.
in Miami. Yeah,
Or is he
okay.
in Minnesota?
I want y'all to figure it out.
He's definitely not in Miami.
Where is he? Where do y'all
He's
think
in
he is?
Minnesota, right?
Yeah, he's our DC.
He
Yeah,
used to
I
be in
was
Miami.
going to say Minnesota, and he goes Miami, and I'm like,
I was like, I'll let y'all figure. Hey, we
What?
blitz on 56% of plays. It's a league high by like 30%.
Really?
Yeah.
Perfect
mean,
for Pittsburgh. But
yeah,
no.
All
Hey,
right,
man.
let's hop into mid moments.
It's good.
With the good, there is always the bad. With the pretty, there is the ugly, and we're gonna hop into that now. The mid moment of the week. My mid moment, I'm gonna spin the block again on my Atlanta Falcons, bro. I got to. I just it baffles me, dude. I don't understand. Let me just I'm gonna read straight from here because this was a big rant for myself just on paper here. This week, the Falcons followed up their win against the Colts, in which they scored a season-high 29 points. Yes, we have not hit the 30-point mark yet this season. With all the talent we have on offense, we have yet to score 30 points. That's a completely different
I don't know if the Vikings.
argument in and of itself. I think they put up 30 on us. So, a season-high 29 points. They followed that up with a blowout loss against the Chicago Bears, 37-17.
They did put up 31 against the Falcons.
I
That's
knew
the
it.
only
It-
time we
yeah.
put up 30.
Taylor Heineke threw 3 interceptions before exiting with an injury this week. Desmond Ridder comes in in true Desmond Ridder fashion. We actually had a chance to maybe put the game back in reach. Probably still would have won. But put the game back in reach. What does Desmond Shitter do? Throws another pick in true Desmond
I haven't
Ridder
heard that one
fashion.
before. That one's actually pretty
Pretty
good.
solid. ain't it? Yeah.
What?
I just
Desmond Shitter.
Oh, you haven't seen the AI pictures of him? Oh,
no.
dude,
I
they're brutal.
literally just came up with that on the spot. I've never heard it before, but okay. So
Damn, y'all let Khalil Herbert rush for 100?
that's what I'm saying. Here's my issue at this point. I don't know where to point the finger. Is my problem now. I have no idea where to point the finger and go, that is what is losing us games.
You could probably point at a Falcons logo and be pretty-
Arthur Smith's play calling
Yeah.
has been suspect all year, but is that due to his coaching ability or the fact that his 2 QBs on the roster have combined for 20 turnovers this season? 20.
That's some Jeff Sims numbers right
Where's
there.
Felipe Franks? Go bring him back.
They converted him to a tight
Tight
end
end,
when he got
yeah.
into the league. Is Kyle Pitts a bust, or does Smith lack the ability to scheme for him? I don't know. I don't know where the team goes from here is my thing. Like it's so difficult. I honestly can truly say I have no idea what the problem is right now. Like,
Fire
I
everybody.
don't know where to point. Terry Fontenot, our GM, is that dude. Out of last year's draft, the 23 draft, we got Bijan, our franchise running back. He just tied the Falcons' rookie record for most yards from scrimmage in a rookie season. He drafted Matthew Bergeron, our starting. He's one of our starting tackles, who has been phenomenal this year. As far as pass rate or pressure rate, he leads all rookies. He drafted Clark Phillips in the 4th round, who has been a starter for us this year, who has been playing meaningful minutes. And he also drafted a really talented prospect in Zach Harrison, who towards the end of the season, with no Grady Jarrett, with Onyemata dealing with injuries, with the guy we fucking went to the Eagles and got to replace him, Kentavious Street, with him going down with injury, he went to the coaches and said, I want more playing time. And with that playing time, this is what I forgot to look at. Give me 1 second. So with that playing time, here in the last couple games, he has more tackles. He's getting pressure. He's got, with the playing time that he's got 3 sacks on the season. He's got the build. He's 6'6", 270.
Damn.
So he's got the build. He's from Ohio State. We knew he needed some work on his IQ on that side of the ball. I like Fontenot. He's been a fantastic GM so far. The problem is the head coaching position comes down to Arthur Blank. And Arthur Blank at this point in his life at 87,000 years old has decided that he's going to be stubborn as fuck. And he's sticking us with Arthur Smith, who at this point has pretty much shown that 8-9 wins a season is kind of going to be his ceiling. And so we are in win now mode with all the talent that we have and one of the better defenses that we have had since our Super Bowl run. You've still got young guys on that defense. Our linebackers, phenomenal. All three of them are young. Troy Anderson, Nate Landman, Caden Ellis. On the back end, Clark Phillips is young. Richie Grant is young. A.J. Terrell is young. Jeff Okuda is still young if he can get his head out of his ass. And you've got a top 3 safety in the league in Jesse Bates. And you've got him locked up for 3 more seasons.
And he not 3.
He ain't 3.
I do have a question. Do you think at this point, it is solely based on the development and coaching of these players that is causing the team to be bad, or is the team just not as good as it's supposed to be on paper? Like at this point, do you think Kyle Pitts is a bust? I'm calling him a bust because he's not that good.
He's
but that's the
He's
thing.
a bust
I don't.
for his position.
Do you think
I don't
Do you think
draft him.
it's because
But
Arthur Smith doesn't know how to scheme him up, or because Kyle Pitts is not good enough to get open?
That's literally the question I have here for myself. From watching all the games, it's so hard to tell. It's so hard to tell. I will say when you look at Kyle Pitts' numbers on the season, first off, 4th overall for a tight end is just ridiculous. 640 yards, only 51 catches, and 3 TDs.
How many targets?
That's what I was going to look
Because
at.
this past week he had 5 targets and 1 catch.
2023, on the season, he has 87 targets.
So how many of those do you think are drops versus misses? Because I bet
Very few.
are drops. Yeah.
Very few were drops. And in his rookie season, he had 68 catches. This was, I think, Matt Ryan's last season with us, was Pitt's first season. So Matt's accuracy had kind of fell off the wagon. He had 110 targets. On 68 catches, he put up 1,026 yards, 15 yards per catch.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 15 touchdowns. I was like, that's not
He
a
had-
bad season.
He had 1 touchdown.
Oh, damn.
That was always Matt Ryan's problem with Julio, though, was finding his best player in the end zone.
Yeah.
I don't think Pitts is a bust talent-wise. I think he has all the talent in the world and all the physical attributes to be phenomenal. But what's the
has-
common?
He has 4 drops.
You see what I'm saying? How can you call that a bust when he's got 51 catches on
I'm calling it a bust in terms of a number 4
87
overall
targets,
pick.
and he's only, but they're not using him. That's the thing. And look at all the great tight ends in football over the years. Travis Kelce has Mahomes. Antonio Gates for years had Phillip Rivers. Tony Gonzalez was doing it in
Kansas City with
Kansas City with no one, but then he came to Atlanta. He had Matt Ryan
Yeah.
for the last 5
Didn't he have
years of
Alex
his career.
Smith?
3 or 2.
Did he not have Alex Smith in KC?
Alex Smith didn't come to Kansas City until like 2013.
I thought he went like 2009 after his first San Fran contract.
No.
But
Because Kaepernick was 2012, so maybe he came in 2012, 2011.
Kaepernick went to the Super Bowl in 2012.
That's what I'm saying.
But he was the
most,
quarterback before that, wasn't
yeah, Alex Smith was.
I'll tell you.
I
Just
think
keep-
Alex Smith got hurt that Super Bowl year, and Kaepernick came in.
he? Oh, really?
I believe that's how that season
on
went.
February 27th, 2013.
Oh, they traded Smith?
So it's just, I think it's, as far as Kyle Pitts is concerned, I don't even think it's a scheming thing. I mean, you saw the targets. He's 87
talented.
targets
He's
is
talented
not
enough to.
bad. He's only
It's-
got 4 drops though, so
it's
that
a scheme
means
thing. It's a scheme thing.
It's a
that
scheme
Arthur Smith
and
can't get him open, and he doesn't have a quarterback to give him
it's
the ball.
also the quarterback. When you've got 36 more targets than you have catches, and you've only dropped 4 passes this season,
It's a quarterback.
that's
thing.
a quarterback thing. So I'm not calling him a bust. Drake London would be a top 15, at least top 20 receiver in football if he had somebody that was not a trash can throwing to him.
Imagine if you guys had a coach like Kyle Shanahan or something.
You know, I mean,
That
hard-
would be deadly right there.
That would be deadly. Y'all would probably win a Super Bowl if y'all had Kyle Shanahan.
as long as the defense held up and didn't
Probably-
let up 25 points or something
Yeah.
in the last quarter and a half.
You
Last
mean
quarter
That'd be
like
and a half.
crazy.
31?
same thing Dallas is going to do this year with Dan Quinn. Just shit the bed on defense in the playoffs. It's just
Well, I mean, that's what you get with a Dan Quinn, Mike McCarthy combo. So
2 fucking career losers.
the Mucinex man himself.
My point is, I don't know what it's going to take to fix this team because Arthur Smith was the play caller for a Titans team that went to an AFC championship with Marcus Mariota. So I haven't ruled out the possibility that he is still a good offensive play caller. I don't think he has what it takes to lead a team. That's number one. Number two, you don't have the same setup that you had in Tennessee. He inherited an already veteran Ryan Tannehill, so there wasn't a ton of really like development that needed to be done there. He had the best running back in football in Derrick Henry, and you had one of the league's better offensive lines at the time that he was there. I don't think he's a head coach.
Desmond Ridder went to the playoff, though.
The college football playoff? Yeah,
Yeah.
You saw how that turned out. What a mistake that was. It was one of the worst CFP outside of the absolute dismantling of TCU that Georgia did last year and that fucking smackdown they put on Michigan. I haven't watched a worse college football playoff game than that
You
one.
haven't watched many college
you
football
haven't watched
playoff
many
games.
college football playoff. Notre Dame's gotten beat way worse than Cincinnati only lost like 24-7.
63-28.
Yeah, 63-28,
yeah.
38-0.
I don't
Alabama,
can
Michigan State.
I kind of rule out fucking the Notre Dame
Notre
games
Dame's
because
lost
those were
by like
so
23 times.
those
See,
were so
31
bad.
nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, getting beat by like 56 in the Natty is pretty bad.
Had to win a game to get there.
And then I guess that's fair.
So did TCU.
They also beat.
That's
That's what we're talking
TCU had to
about.
win.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think you're talking about Notre
They,
Dame.
they also beat Michigan, so that was kind of like, did they really do much?
Yeah, but Michigan beat Ohio State, and then we almost lost to Ohio State. So it's like a
Should have lost to Ohio State.
I mean, should have made a kick. I don't know what to tell them.
That was like my favorite game.
The
I
ghost.
didn't watch it, but I
The
was
ghost.
watching it on a phone while I was out there recording, and like the kick and the ball drop was at like the same time.
The ghost timeout.
Anyways,
What?
I don't
So
know.
Ohio State ran a fake punt
Uh-huh.
late in the game.
Yeah.
Probably would have won him the game.
it was a success. It was going to be successful.
He got the first down, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh no, Georgia
called a timeout.
Georgia called a timeout. Oh no!" And then
Michigan seal signs, so it kind of evens out. Anyways, I don't know what they need.
Do you think Michigan prepped for Washington? I don't know if they're stealing very many Pac-12 signs
Probably.
Yeah, they were probably prepared
for Washington.
for anybody,
we'll talk
dude.
About,
No,
I've got some talk about
They
that. We'll
s-
talk about that on.
they spent
Tune
all
in
their,
to pick 'em.
They
Tune in
spent
to
all their
pick 'em.
voodoo.
Are we
magic on
gonna
Alabama.
see another strip title if Michigan wins?
No.
We're gonna see 2005 USC
no,
again.
No,
That's
no,
why
no.
Harbaugh's leaving.
They
So
will
they
not
won't-
strip this title.
You don't
It's
think
not
so?
big enough. No,
It's not big enough.
it's not a big like they've already dismissed it.
It's like
Harbaugh,
a
Harbaugh got a
half-
3-game suspension.
But that was Big Ten. That wasn't the NCAA.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do anything.
It's like
I just
Deflategate. Not
And if
that
they
big.
do, it'll be like
they'll kind of
a
just
couple-
sweep it under
yeah,
the rug.
It
Yeah.
won't be anything big.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know what they need. They're my mid moment because just like last week, this has been the season. It's been such a roller coaster of performances. You had, after beating the Colts, you had the ability to put your destiny back in your hands a little bit as far as getting to the playoffs, and you just come out and you shit the bed. Bad game planning, just an all-around bad performance. So a quarterback is something on the wish list, but I think a new head coach has got to come. We need something other than Arthur because it looks like 9 wins a season is going to be like his ceiling for his career.
We good?
Y'all, I mean, we had 12 different
I'm just-
conversations.
I'm just giving you shit.
Fuck you.
My mid moment is the Lakers because they're coming after my king. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games.
They fucking suck.
They don't suck. They're
2-8. They're ass.
better than the Hawks.
The Hawks suck.
They're 2-8 in their last 10 games.
I think that's funny. That is always y'all's argument. The Lakers suck and the Hawks suck. They can both suck. I am a realist. You look at the Hawks, they are a terrible defensive basketball team. So are the Lakers.
But it looks like Darvin Ham's about to get fired here soon. They fucked up the roster. The roster construction is bad. Other
Whose
than
fault is that?
the GM.
Well, they're talking offseason about how great the Lakers' moves were. Getting fucking what's
Yeah,
the dude? It's not Gabe Vincent, is it?
They got Gabe Vincent.
Okay. Gabe Vincent.
GM's moves.
Who else did they
Couldn't
get?
imagine a
Christian
player
Wood.
making
They kept Rui, right?
decisions.
Christian
make
Wood,
the,
Jackson Hayes, Torian Prince, Cam
their
Reddish.
roster is so bad.
They were
But-
hyping him up.
They were playing good ball to start the season, and basketball is a game of runs. They're playing bad now. They'll probably in February go on a win streak, and we'll be talking about the
After
Lakers
they
being
trade.
after they make a couple trades and moves. But for
We'll
now,
we'll be talking about their first round exit.
they're the worst team in the NBA other than the Pistons and like the Spurs in the last
Yeah.
2-3 weeks, and they're hurting his legacy. So they need to do something.
I want to see him get swept by the Nuggets again.
Hell no.
He didn't
Um,
get swept by the Nuggets. The team did.
Yeah, he
Right.
played great. Anyway,
They're 17 and 18.
my mid moment is kind of I'll make it quicker, but it's a triple whammy. So my mid moment was Florida politicians, future bowl games, and the NCAA, all mashed into one.
Mm.
So Florida politicians put together millions of dollars and sent letters and emails and lawful demands to the NCAA stating that FSU deserved a spot in the playoff and that there should be a recount and that the Orange Bowl should count as a sixth playoff or like a third playoff game, all this and that. They stuck their necks out and their credibility out for that.
the largest
And
Yeah.
margin of victory in a bowl
I
game
feel like the
ever.
SEC just went up to Georgia before the game. Was like, all right, you just got to wax these motherfuckers.
Now-
Wax.
Now looking at the game from the outside, it's like, wow, that was really bad. But it can't be like the worst thing you've ever seen, right? Let's look at some numbers on this
it-
really quick.
It was one of
They
the
lost
worst
a New Year's
games.
they lost a New Year's Six bowl by 60 points, the highest margin of victory in any bowl game ever, which is just great to start. They were down 42-3 at halftime. Georgia had 673 total yards of offense and 0 turnovers to FSU's 209 yards of offense and 4 turnovers. They tripled plus their total offense and had 4 less turnovers, which leads right into my point of how future bowl games are becoming more and more meaningless, right? So outside
They
of the
won't
future
mean
playoff
anything
games,
next year.
so there's future playoff games. There's what, I don't know how many, 12 of them total. There's those 12 games. Outside of that, the
6.
playoff games will mean nothing. Well, there's those games and then the semis.
Oh, you're
and
talking
then
about
that.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
outside of those 12 games or so, there's going to be nothing. It's going to
No,
be
'cause the-
desolate.
13, 14, 15,
They're not
16 are
gonna
all going to
care
be
anymore.
mad. They're going to be mad that they didn't make it.
So what I think they should do is I think the NCAA should regulate the timing of transfer portal players and when players can enter the portal.
It wouldn't change anything.
But
is
it
the
would
problem.
because the reason a lot of those guys were sitting out was because they're in the portal.
What's to say they're going to play and risk injury while they're still trying to transfer?
It's
But
something.
You
It's-
look at the other side of the coin, and they're playing this game to find a school to transfer to. Like, oh, I want
Not
to.
necessarily. If you're a guy, okay, let's use a guy like from Florida State. Let's go.
Nobody was in the portal though. That was all because of draft. Besides,
I'm just saying. Let's say a guy like Jared Verse is going to transfer, right? Obviously, he sat out because of the draft, but let's say somebody like that, right?
Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord's not playing. It's
He
not
would-
gonna. It's
He
not-
would
it's
if
not
they
gonna
regulated it. If they didn't allow him to jump into the portal, like there's a difference between sitting out for the draft and sitting out because you're not part of the team, and then there's just sitting out to sit out. Did you see anybody sitting out to sit out? Just because they didn't want, like a
I didn't-
sophomore or a freshman sitting out.
They're not going to sit out.
Exactly,
They need
so why
they
would-
need the film
So why would Kyle
But-
McCord sit out?
because Kyle McCord has already made his decision. Nobody at Ohio State likes Kyle. That's another bad example because he didn't play well in their biggest game of the season.
But it would have
and
been an
people-
opportunity to play against a Missouri team and beat a good Missouri team and boost his stock. So I don't think you should be able to enter the portal or transfer during the season or before the season's over outside of a medical or family emergency.
I agree. I just don't.
I think
Excuse me, I don't think it'll change the trajectory of bowl games that much.
but like
I-
a team like Oregon State,
Mm-hmm.
who was phenomenal all year. Oregon State was a great team. Took Oregon to the wire, took Washington to the wire, lost 45-0 to Notre Dame because of transfers.
DJ gone, Aiden Chiles gone,
Head coach gone.
head
I mean,
coach
that's not
gone.
transfer, but they had a bunch of guys transfer as well.
I saw something on social media, and I want to see your
I
take
don't like
on
this idea. That's stupid to me, but go ahead.
I'm just bringing it up.
No, go ahead.
To make bowl games more meaningful, push them to the beginning of the next season. Like week 0 is your bowl game.
It would make it more meaningful, but then you'd have to wait 9 months to play a bowl
To
game.
see a bowl game where you're
Wouldn't
still
you
gonna
You'd have a
you're-
different roster.
Yeah,
you'd
you're
have
gonna
a
have a different
different
roster. You're not gonna have the same kids playing, and then
You'd
I'm
have
just
to
bringing
change.
it
You'd
up.
have to move You'd have to move like the draft
then
to a new time.
every single team would have to play a week 0 game.
Who came up with that dumbass idea?
I'm just bringing it up.
Because
Anyway,
then
I'm just
you've got some
kidding.
teams playing 12 regular season games, and then you've got some teams playing 13 because you added
Anyway,
the bowl game in
I-
week 0.
I think that limiting the transfer portal window and limiting, I think we should go back to how it was before, where it was hard to transfer and play immediately.
It's never going to be the same.
I know, but
the
that's,
problem
if
is
you
they
want to
open
fix,
the floodgates. It's going to be really hard to close them.
but if you want to fix bowl games, fix the system, make the games meaningful, limit opt-outs, bowls become meaningful.
I think they just.
That's
I
my
don't
mid-moment.
think it's.
Do you think
I
there's-
agree with you
do you
that
think
the
there's-
bowl games are mid moments. I just don't think it's ever going to go back to the days of like
That's why it's mid-moment, because I don't think it'll happen. But that's what they should do.
I see your point. I just still think you would have a large number of just all dudes care about in today's game is money. So if you've got a dude who already knows this, the school or two that's looking at him that he wants to transfer to and they like him and all this, right?
But you can't talk to them until you're in the transfer portal. You can't do that because that's
I don't know.
breaking-
I just don't think it would change as much as like if a guy played 12 games in a season, in a regular season, and his team was playing, the fucking Gator Bowl, and he balled out during the regular season, he's still not playing in the Gator Bowl. He's still going to sit.
Can't risk tampering. Make tampering charges bigger.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying if you
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
good 12-game season and you know that your stock is already high, you're not going to play in the bowl game and risk injury. When you know you are going to hop in the portal still, even though you got to wait till after the bowl game, you're still getting in the portal and you're going somewhere else to get more money. And you had a good 12-game season, you don't need any more film. These same guys are still going to be sitting out.
Last thing, and then I'll let Joe say his mid moment. And this is a debate for next episode, not this episode, because we're a little short. The idea that you have that professional and collegiate athletes don't want to play is ridiculous. You're like, LeBron doesn't want to play. Or like
What do
they
you
don't
mean?
when you're like LeBron doesn't want to play because he wants to sit out. Kawhi doesn't want to play, he wants to sit out.
Nah, I've never said that about LeBron.
Kawhi
I
doesn't
say
wanna play.
the opposite actually.
Kawhi
I say
doesn't want
LeBron
to
is
play.
trying to fill the
I just said
stat
an
sheet.
athlete. Kawhi doesn't want to play. Or like these collegiate athletes would just sit out to sit out. The idea that these guys who are playing professional and collegiate sports just don't want to play their sport is crazy.
Not really.
We can.
It
That'll be a debate for
I'll
next
go.
episode.
I'll definitely find you some of that. It's not. These guys want their money. They're not worried about winning. That's proven many times over the last couple of years, and I'll point that out to you next week because
Like Zion.
it's not a.
Zion's just fat. He
I don't
can't
want to
play.
come back till I feel like Zion.
It's
Fat
not.
fuck.
It's not really a crazy idea. We saw it this weekend.
And
when
it's not
Georgia-
it's not just about them not like if you have like a little tiny like tweak.
Yeah, I'm not talking
all
about
the
just
old- all
don't
the-
want to play. It's that these guys can sit with the lowest grade ankle sprain and still get their check, so they're going to.
And if I'm a fan and I'm paying to come see Kawhi Leonard play and he's sitting out for he scratched his puss this morning and he doesn't want to play, I deserve a refund. Because I'm paying to
fine.
watch you play and you're just going to sit out because you're a fucking pussy.
yeah,
If
you
it's an-
didn't you didn't see that in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s.
And you're getting more money
There were-
than any
there-
athlete has ever gotten before.
I mean, like I'll find a few guys in the MLB. There was this one guy who came up and hit in a crucial moment in the playoffs. It was the 90s, I believe, with like a torn ACL. Like dude's leg was wrapped up in fucking bubble wrap, and he's out there hitting because he was playing to win. These guys now, I fucking have a low grade ankle sprain. Well, I still got to make sure I get my bag, so I'm sitting tonight, even though we're playing an NBA primetime game, and all these fans showed up to see me. I'm not saying people just all the time just sit to fucking sit, but people sit all the time for very minuscule reasons. People sit all the time for reasons that 10, 15 years ago, people were not sitting because it meant more. We saw that in college football this weekend.
If you're getting if you get paid that
We
much,
did.
if you get paid that much money though, are you going to risk it?
If I'm getting fucking paid $20 million a year to go and win basketball games, I am going to go win basketball games unless I am literally physically unable to win basketball games. A low-grade ankle sprain should not have you sitting out for a week. No reason.
You don't know how bad that ankle sprain is. The only person who truly knows that is the player.
They put the reports out all the time. You telling me injury reports are false now all the time?
So are ankle sprains just worse now than they've ever been before? Because
I think technology-
the
I think
market is
technology is
larger
different.
than it's ever been.
I think technology
What do
is
you mean?
different, and I think
like people are getting paid more money than anyone.
Yeah,
has
and
ever
they're
been
playing
paid.
less.
But there's also a
They're
reason
playing
that
less. They're
60-year-old
making more
basketball
money.
players are hobbling around and unable to walk because they played through all these injuries.
And
they're fucking 100 millionaires. That's the sacrifice they pay.
and they're champions. So ask some of these guys who played through injuries and, we're dealing with it now. Ask them if they would go back and change it.
They'd probably.
I don't get.
I
I
don't-
don't get the feeling bad for these fuckers because
Yeah, I'm sitting here, right, and you've got people all across America that wake up at 5 a.m. every day to go build roads and put railroads down and landscape people's houses. Yeah, your fucking back hurts. You've got herniated discs. Your knees are blown out at 40. Your hands are calloused up. Do those people just not show up to work
and get a break.
and get a break? No, but when an athlete does it, when a professional athlete getting paid millions upon millions of dollars to play a children's game sits out for a ankle sprain or a wrist sprain, or a quarterback sits out when he broke a thumb on his non-throwing hand, we're like, oh my God, dude, you can't talk shit on these people. They're trying to make their bag. They're getting their bag. They're getting their bag to play a children's game, and instead of playing through some baby-ass injuries that you were playing through in high school, they sit. And we're like, oh, but you don't know. You don't know how bad it is. They're out here trying to make their money. The difference is you don't see no guy playing on a league minimum. You don't see him sitting with the low-grade ankle sprain. He's playing to get his bag. The problem is these dudes who have already gotten their bag don't have anything to play for. So it's
You don't think they want to win?
Obviously not.
today.
You think people like Zion want to win when they could play in the
I
playing
think
game?
every single person in the NBA wants to win. I
That's
think
not
that
true.
It's not
logic
true.
is crazy. That
They-
they,
It
they're-
isn't. They show it now.
you think they're just there to make money. You don't think.
Yes.
Plenty of people. Look at James
I
Harden's
think we should
career.
go talk to the NBA. When we go talk to NBA, when we
Look
have
at
an NBA
look at
player,
James Harden's career.
when we have an NBA player on, I am so excited to ask. So
Well,
you
I mean,
sat out.
you
You
can
don't want to
ask
win,
them.
right? Well, they're going to be honest. There's a couple guys. Yeah, sure. There's
a
like
few guys that'll be honest.
and say like, yes, he didn't want to win. He was there for the money. Sure. There's like maybe
No,
10
no.
people
There
in the
are a
NBA.
few people who would be honest about it. There's not. It
That's
is
what I'm
not
saying. A few people who would say this guy was here for the money.
Yeah, there's a few people who would be honest, but there is more than a few guys who just play the game today for money. We just saw it in college football this past
That is
weekend.
not what that was. There's a
isn't?
difference between sitting because you are already injured and sitting because you have a potential to get drafted.
The draft, I don't mind. It's all these guys who are like, oh, well, my team didn't make the CFP. We're playing in this bowl. I'm going to just go ahead and transfer because the school offered me $2 million. I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to play with the guys that I was in war with for 12 weeks this season, who I went through camp with, who I got to know, who I roomed with, who was in the locker room cracking jokes with me for 12 weeks. No, I'm not playing for them because I'm not playing for the school no more. I'm playing for my NIL money. I'm playing to get my check. We
But
saw
you saw
so
Georgia,
much of that.
You saw like Georgia guys.
Because that's a culture.
But you think it's
that
just
is
Georgia?
a culture.
You think it's just Georgia?
No, there are certain teams out there, but it's because of a culture that was built. Alabama has built that culture. As much as I don't like them, Michigan has built that
Alabama
culture.
had a ton of guys sit out last year when they didn't make the playoff.
For draft?
Yeah.
For draft.
For everything. For
The
everything.
draft
Guys who
is
transferred.
okay. If you
guys
are
who
a
transferred
if
too.
you are a first, second round guy, I would not have been mad at all if Van Pran sat this weekend. I'm not mad if Kendall Milton doesn't play. I'm not mad if Javon doesn't play. I'm not mad
I'm
if
not
Kamara.
mad if they don't play.
Those guys
It's just the guys that
have
are
played
that-
hard all season long, and they have earned the right to go get their bag. the difference is when the players that I am specifically calling out are the players that have already gotten their bag.
But they have in college now. They already
And
have
they're
gotten their bag.
and they're still and those are the players that are doing the same things.
But most of the guys who are playing still have their bag too. Most of the guys who are playing still have already made millions of dollars.
Like who?
Everybody
Outside
on
of
the
outside of Georgia, we just talked about there are schools that have built that culture.
right.
Outside of them, like Oregon State, DJ, he's going to go get paid a lot more money to play at Florida State than he would have ever made at Oregon State. He went to war. That school, he owes that school everything. They revitalized his career.
But he's not
He was
sitting.
a
But he's
bu-
not sitting because he doesn't want to win.
I think you're like misconstruing the fact that like going to get your bag and like not wanting to win, they're kind of there on the same
The
platform. 'Cause
transfer
he
thing is.
didn't-
I think the transfer thing is different because you're not even a part of the team anymore. When you transfer, you're just not a part of the. Even if you wanted to play, you're not on the team.
But he could have, if he wanted to win, if he wanted to go to war with those guys who have helped him get his career back on track at a school that gave, who everybody considered a fat ass bust at Clemson, gave him the opportunity to put on for his name. You can't even wait a couple more weeks to play your bowl game with those.
I think the thing is more in pro sports than college because in college you can't wait for the transfer portal right now. The area of the transfer portal you can't wait. Otherwise, Florida State would have gone and got somebody else. You can't wait in college football. So that's why it's the college football one's harder. I just think it's the idea that NBA players more, I guess, don't want
There's
to win.
NBA, there's NFL, there's
The idea
MLB
that they
guys,
don't want to win is
NBA
hard
is
for me.
the worst out of.
and the NBA is the worst.
Anyway, mid moment from Joe.
Well, if I talk too much about NBA, I'll get pissed off. So we're going to go back to NFL. The Eagles are my mid-moment of the week. After a really strong start of the season, I mean, they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Bills, and then shit kind of hit the fan. They've lost 4 of their last 5.
To some bad teams.
The Cardinals, Seahawks, Cowboys, there's only one bad team there. They lost Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks. They barely beat the Giants, and then they just lost to the Cardinals. Jalen Hurts, he was pretty badly outplayed. I mean, they have the same amount of touchdowns and interceptions, but Kyler Murray was 25 of 31 for 232 yards, and Jalen Hurts had 167 yards passing the entire game. They're not the same team they were last year. Obviously, their defense is struggling. They still got Matt Patricia calling plays back there?
Do they?
I think so.
honestly
I
don't.
haven't paid
believe
attention
so.
to it.
Their defense has allowed 48 touchdowns this season, which is it's number 3, the third worst in the NFL. And they've allowed 25 points per game all season, which is the 4th worst in the NFL. That's with playing the Giants twice a year
The Commanders
and the
twice
Commanders
a year.
twice a year. And then, like, the fucking Cardinals. You let the Cardinals score
Put up
35 points
35.
on you. That's worse than Pittsburgh.
The Eagles had the same amount of wins in December as the Panthers.
Yeah. So,
My question: how does Matt Patricia still have a job in pro sports? What on his resume is like
the Patriots.
The Patriots.
The
Yeah.
time with the
6
Patriots.
years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, that
Pro sports is
that
the
was
only
an interesting.
is the only thing that I can think of where you can go as far back on this dude's resume. Well, he was good there, so sure, he might be good.
yeah, like it doesn't that
He
part
was
of
good
it.
at 9 years ago.
That part of it, like their resume and how good they are, is not. It's not like the real world.
No,
Because
the
if
worst-
you underperform at your last job, first off, you gotta have when you go put your resume out, you've got to have references, right? Well, they're gonna look at your most recent job, right? And they're gonna go, "Why did you leave?" You're gonna tell them why you left,
I didn't.
then they're
leave.
gonna-
I was pushed out.
and then they're gonna call your previous employer and go, "Hey, what was the problems with this dude?" You know, and they're like, "Well, he underperformed. And when he came in, you know, he had all this sales experience and this, and his sales quota was $100,000 a month. And at our company, most people clear that in 2 weeks of the month. He was struggling to get to 50,000, and you know, he just wasn't performing here. You're not getting that job you just went to. You're gonna have to backtrack. You're gonna have to start your career almost over. People in pro sports." Oh, you won a Super Bowl in 2007? Awesome, it's 2023. Maybe you can do that for us now.
I haven't heard anything good about that dude in years. I don't know how he still has a job.
Someone's gonna hire Brandon Staley. So
That is and that is kind of where I was going with we'll talk more about it next week because we do have to move on. But that's kind of where I'm going with it's not so much about winning anymore. It is so much more about the money in all aspects and how sports is completely desensitized and unlike anything else in the real world when it comes to all facets of how the business works. And we'll talk a lot more about that next week because I think we're a little bit closer than you might think we are on opinions. It's just maybe the wording that we're getting mixed up on. But let's get into hot takes. Let's make them kind of quick because we do got to move on. My hot take of the week, and I'm going to make this quick. Yes, this is partially a feel and just I really hope this happens type of hot take for me, but I've got some numbers to back it up. The Dodgers' $1 billion plus team experiment will come crashing down. This isn't the NBA, where LeBron can go join a superstar D Wade and a bona fide dog and Chris Bosh, and people can all but guarantee you at least one ring. This is the NFL, where you've got a guy like Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes who can basically take anybody, a D3 bum, a lacrosse star,
not Kadarius Toney though,
and take you at least to a first round win in the playoffs. This is the MLB, where no super team has won like they should have since the 90s Yankees. Even then, you had a Braves team who was loaded with 3 future Hall of Famers at pitcher. You had a future Hall of Famer in Chipper Jones. You've got Andrew Jones. You've got David Justice, right? That team was loaded. 14 consecutive division titles. They won 1 World Series. This is baseball. Since the start of the 21st century, 21 different teams have made the World Series. 21. There are 30 MLB teams. That means since the start of the 21st century, only 9 MLB teams have not made a World Series. Out of those 21 different teams to make the World Series, 16 different teams have been crowned champ. 16. That's over half the league winning a championship in the last 23 years. There's only been 7 years in the last 23 where a team that had already won in the 21st century has won again. And we have not seen a repeat champion, a back-to-back champion, since the 90s Yankees did it. One of the most historic franchises in all of sports anywhere. Look, you can go out and you can buy whoever you want to. We've seen the Rays 2 out of the last 4 years make the ALCS, I believe.
Yep.
Something like that, with a bottom 5 payroll in baseball. We've seen a team like the Braves grow homegrown talent, pick up a few guys in some trades in that World Series run, some low-tier guys, right? Nothing great. Nobody, when we traded for them, were like, oh, my God, let's go. We were all like, all right, AA, we're gonna put our trust in you. And it worked. This is baseball. You cannot buy rings. Now, can the Dodgers be the exception to that with 2 future Hall of Famers in Mookie and Freddie Freeman, with a big bat like Max Muncy, with Yamamoto, with Ohtani, who won't be able to pitch this year, with Tyler Glasnow now? Could they do it? They could. But history does not favor them. And I just, looking at it after watching the Dodgers just absolutely crumble in the playoffs last year, I think they are just going to go out and spend a bunch of money to do the same shit they do every single year, which is crumble when it comes time for the pressure situations. And that is going to be my hot take of the week.
My hot take with the NFL playoffs coming up is related to that. The NFL season this year has been unpredictable,
To say the least.
Anybody on any given Sunday has shown that they can go out and get the job done. So my hot take is that at least one wild card team from each conference is going to win a playoff game. Teams like
Rams.
Teams like the Rams,
Yeah.
the Browns, the Bills, the Eagles, the Seahawks have been playing good football. Every now and then they can put it.
Steelers.
Steelers.
They're not currently a
No,
playoff
yeah.
team,
Will
so
be though. Will be.
The Texans, the Colts.
Only one of those teams are gonna make it.
I know, but I got to throw all of them
I
out
like
there
the
right
Texans over the Colts though.
now. Me too.
any of those teams have shown that they can get it done. And if you give them the right matchup, somebody can make something happen. So I think at least one AFC and NFC wildcard team will win a playoff game.
I like that.
My hot take, we're going over to the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder have a plethora of first-round picks, right? Like 17 in the next 6 years, 5 years, whatever it is.
Crazy.
And teams only have 14, 15 roster spots, depending on the year. They don't even have enough spots to keep all of their picks if they cut everyone in the next 6 years. So they're going to have to downsize at some point and capitalize on some of those picks unless they just want to draft people and cut them. And I think that they should do it this year. I think they should capitalize on their success right now, and I think they will. I think they will capitalize on the success and trade 1, 2, 3, 4 first-round picks and buy into someone as they are extremely successful right now. They have a top 3 MVP candidate in Shea. They have a rookie of the year leader in Chet. They have 3 guys on offense who are extremely effective in Shea,
Chet,
Chet, and Giddey. And then on the defensive side, they have Lou Dort and Chet. Chet goes both ways, but
great defender.
Lou Dort and Chet. So what I think they should do is I think they should go to a team that's selling right now, a team that's not winning very many basketball games,
Like the Raptors.
like the Utah Jazz, and
Markkanen?
go grab Lauri Markkanen.
You think
To
the
slide
Jazz are
into
giving
four.
up for?
He doesn't fit their time frame.
I
He's
guess that's
27,
fair.
and everybody else on that team's 24 or under.
They're in rebuild.
Go trade 3 first-round picks for Lauri Markkanen. 100%.
3?
100%. DeJounte got 4. DeJounte was for 4. Lauri Markkanen's
That's
better than
also
DeJounte.
a trash franchise. So
It's true. But then you have a starting 5 of
Okay.
SGA, Giddey, Lou Dort, Lauri Markkanen, Chet Holmgren, and off the bench you have J-Dub,
Williams.
Jalen Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, and Kenrich Williams. That is
That's a championship roster.
extremely deep roster with a ton of talent on both sides on the offensive and
and
defensive
that's
side of
not
the
a
ball. They can
just
make a run.
that's not a just win this season type of
That's
team.
it's a capitalizing success for the next 3 to 4 years,
exactly.
depending on when you have to pay certain people. So
The next Warriors dynasty.
I think they should go ahead and make the move.
So your hot take is that if they make the right move, I'm
My
just
hot
kinda,
take is that they should
if
make
it-
that move. Make that move in particular.
and if they make that move, you could see them being a dynasty.
Immediate contender dynasty for the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay, I like that. Joseph.
Mine's going to be pretty short. You
'Kay.
probably already know what's coming. But the Buffalo Bills are going to miss the playoffs this season. All it's going to take, they're going to lose to Miami, which that's a given. That's going to happen, right? Pittsburgh, we're going to beat the fucking Ravens. Lamar's not playing. Odell's not playing. They got like 10 starters sitting out.
Zay Flowers isn't playing.
We're not
Patrick Queen
losing.
Probably won't
We're not
play.
losing the Ravens, okay? And the Jaguars have to beat the Titans. With the division on the line, Trevor Lawrence is questionable.
If CJ Beathard plays, it's going to be an interesting game.
He gonna be playing. Trevor Lawrence gonna be
Okay.
playing. So, Jaguars win, Steelers win, Bills lose Sunday night. Bills are out of it. It's gonna be just like last season. The last game of the year was Packers Lions. All Packers had to do was to make
Was
the playoffs, was
win.
win and be in. It's gonna be the same situation, and Bills are gonna lose.
I'm going to be rooting for it.
Yes, sir. Steelers, we're winning at least one playoff game this season.
All right. To finish up a little bit of a longer episode today, we are going to our Dogs of the Week presented by Underdog. Use code FTS to get your first deposit matched up to $100 just in time for the NFL playoffs and for Natty Monday. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some stats so far. I am 2 for 2 so far on my Dogs of the Week, and I plan on continuing that streak this week.
I am 1 for 2.
I am 2 for 2, and I plan.
One for two.
If you like fantasy, you should be riding with me. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the third. Just
It's a quick pattern.
quick pattern. I'm gonna give you guys my third lock. You have to go here, and it's one of the easiest ones. Let me go ahead and make sure I read that line right. It's a free bet in my opinion. Saturday night at 8:15, the Houston Texans will be vying for a playoff spot. All they've got to do is win, and they are going to because C.J. Stroud is back, and C.J. Stroud is going to throw higher than 1.5 passing TDs. It's a free bet. Or it is a free pick. I apologize.
Daily fantasy pick'em entry.
It's free. It's out there. It's free. He's going to throw 2 TDs. He's going to come out and ball. They will put up at least 21 points. 2 of those coming by a C.J. Stroud passing TD. It is going to happen. That is it for me.
I'll go. Well, I could have gone. I had a couple different opinions. I had a couple options that I wanted to go, but the one I have the most confidence in is in probably the biggest game of the week, in the Bills-Dolphins game.
Okay.
Josh Allen has rushed for 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games.
I like where
The
you're going.
Miami Dolphins are down 2 edge rushers.
I like where you're going.
Josh Allen higher than half a rushing or receiving touchdown
Yes.
seems pretty free to me.
There we
Five
go.
5 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks is Josh Allen type numbers, but I believe he gets another one here against the Dolphins at home, right? Or is it on the road?
On
It's
the
in
road.
Miami.
In Miami,
Even better.
he's going to silence the crowd with a little rushing touchdown. First quarter rushing touchdown.
Joseph, where are we going?
You already know where I'm going.
You've been pretty solid so far in your picks.
1 of 2 is 50%. I'll take it. But
This was the other one.
we
I
got a
decided
guy
between.
right here. His last 2 weeks, he's put up 195 receiving yards and 130 receiving yards respectively. His line, or his projection, 47.5 receiving yards this week against a defense that's going to be sitting some starters. We got George Pickens,
Okay.
higher than 47.5 receiving yards,
Yes. I like it.
with the next TB12 back there throwing him the football.
You went a little too far.
Mason Rudolph. I don't know a nickname yet. Rudolph.
Red nose.
Red nose, blows, Rudolph. Yeah.
Continue on.
I'll
Just
think of
keep
a new one.
going.
I'll think of
Keep
a new one.
going.
But yeah, GP, he's got like the most targets I think he's gotten this season in the 2 games Rudolph's played. I think last 2 games.
Oh,
Well, he's
believe it or
got
not, when you
9
throw
and
your best
6.
receiver the ball, he gets a lot of yards and you win games.
And we're starting to distance ourselves from fucking whack ass Deontay Johnson,
Smart.
which I don't know if you guys watched that game. He caught the ball against the Seahawks and turned upfield and just let it fall out of his arms. Fumble that shit.
That was a
Sounds
bad
right.
I hate
decision.
that motherfucker. But anyways, George Pickens higher than 47.5 receiving yards.
Lansimus, where are we going?
All right.
So far, it sounds like we've got a pretty good
I
pick 'em
feel
entry
confident in all
riding
of
here.
these.
I'm going to get risky.
Oh,
Of course, he's going to ruin
Well,
it.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's like
our
extreme.
entry.
This entry, I feel pretty good about this one.
It didn't sound like it with your intro, but let's hear it.
It's just an unorthodox pick.
I don't like that word either. Just go ahead and give me your pick.
The Eagles have been playing really bad football.
Okay.
Their defense has been trash. They just gave up 35
Okay.
to
The Cardinals.
the Cardinals.
Got the Giants this week.
They got the Giants this week. Tyrod Taylor is going to be the starter. He had the same amount of attempts as Tommy DeVito in that game. 16 attempts, threw for 133 yards. The Eagles' defense is trash. They might have some guys sitting because they've already locked up a playoff spot. I'm taking Tyrod Taylor higher than 198.5 passing yards.
That's Lance's big. So, you can
He
do
was darting up last week. I watched. a little bit of the game.
We
He
shall
was
see.
throwing
I
dimes.
will
He threw
say.
for 320 yards against the Rams last week.
Okay. I'm okay.
And you
I
stole.
believe-
and you,
I believe-
And I had picked C.J. Stroud, but you
Our
took
multiple-
a C.J.
our
Stroud. pick.
multiple-
I apologize.
Our multiple pick entry is going to hit this week.
It is.
Put them
We're
all
go-
together for a massive entry.
We
If you
are
always-
making you units.
If
with
you
code
always pick on,
FTS.
if you always pick on the big name guys, sometimes it's not the best strategy.
It's okay.
GP's not
Are
a
you
big
watching
name guy.
film?
I was going to show you the
Oh.
fucking play I was talking about.
All right. Those were our dogs of the week presented by Underdog. Again, use code FTS to get your first deposit matched up to $100. That is $100 of free money to play with. If you love daily fantasy, check out Underdog. All right. That is going to wrap it up for the boys today. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. We will see you next week. Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all that hot jazz. We will be out tomorrow morning on a Saturday. Jack got his wisdom teeth out this week, so we had to push it back a little bit, but no chipmunk face today, so
Never
we're doing
better.
all right. All right, guys, we appreciate you. We will see you next week. Peace.